Love, light, and blessings. This is Shamanic Iwak Priestess here. Welcome to today's video. And before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. If you want to become a member, just hit the join button. And there you can purchase whatever tier you want to be a member. There's 3 tiers, first, second, and third. Second and third tier, you have all access to my exclusive content that is never available on my main channel. So I do make and create videos that only my members are able to see. If you'd like to receive daily messages, you can do 1. And then 3, we have like meetups and things like that. And so much more. So just read through the explanations of that. So you get a lot for what you pay for. If you want a reading with me, go to my website. The link is always on the description box of each video, shamanic.iwebpriestess.com. You can get regular readings, specialized reading, rituals, and mentorship opportunities, classes, all the things. So, okay, with that out of the way, I want to concentrate on today's video, which is about discernment. And particularly, I want to focus on spiritual discernment. Okay, the word discernment pretty much means the ability of someone, so you or I, someone, a person, has the ability to judge well, whether it's a person or a situation. Okay, I feel like when it comes to, and yes, we do it in romance and stuff like that, but especially in when we're talking about spirituality, a lot of people don't practice discernment. They let themselves be fooled, by social media, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Everything's about aesthetics these days. Everything's about everything being available at the fingertips, accessibility, and things like that. So you might get razzle dazzled or charmed, Oh, look at this person who's claiming to be a priestess. Look at their beautiful altars. They're willing to open up, blah, 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 and you don't really know this person in real life. You don't really know if what they're showing you is really their practice, right? And that's where discernment comes in, right? I always tell people, and I'm not afraid of that, okay? Sorry about that, guys. That it's okay for you to be hesitant. I've had people be hesitant with me and then become believers, because that's what a spiritual is supposed to do. They're supposed to pretty much earn your trust, right? And things of that nature. And the reason why I want to focus on this particularly is because not only are people getting scammed out of money, fake initiations, false information, but there's also people that are drawn to the spiritual community, but they're for like really evil reasons, okay? And so what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is they are predatory. They see a woman or a male or whatever you identify as, and they're in a position of power. So they're the babalao, they're the priestess, whatever. And they insinuate, oh, in order to break a curse, we have to be intimate with each other. Or they say things that make you feel uncomfortable. I have seen this a lot. Okay. And some people, just like in a job or anything else, they get confused. Like, oh, is that part of, because this person's a priest or whatever, is that part of, the path? So I have a personal story with that. So there was a time that my mom, left the path, went back to church. She came back to this path. So she wasn't teaching me anything. She was like, oh, all of it's evil, blah, 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 blah. But then she came right back and she doesn't believe that anymore. She's both Christian and she practices what I practice. Okay. So basically, I was going through a really difficult time. And I have felt like somebody was doing work on me. This is before I was reading people, so I was very young. This is before I was a professional. This is before I was in the level or in the direction that I'm in, right? So I didn't know much about something, even though I grew up, my mom was always never explaining things, just kind of doing things to us, rituals, whatever, but nothing was ever explained. And unfortunately, she's still like that. When I tried to explain to my nieces and nephews and stuff, she's like, no. Okay. So basically, I didn't know any better. So the person said, hey, I was walking down the street and they were like, hey, somebody's doing work on you. So I was like, how would he know this? And he was like, hey, I could do a reading, like somebody had just canceled. So I'm thinking he's spiritual, and, the door's open, whatever the case may be. I go into this person's home. And not only did he use fear tactics to try to get me to pay him money, he was also making inappropriate comments, and he was also being suggestive. Now, I'm happy that I kind of made up a story and was able to get out of there, but I feel like had I stayed longer, some kind of assault would have happened. Like, the energy was horrible, and he had altars and everything. Just because people have altars and stuff like that doesn't mean they're as spiritual as you think they are. This is where discernment comes in. Use your judgment. If a ritual does not feel good, if a priest or priestess doesn't feel like they're right, like if they make you like, oh my God, for some reason I feel like I'm not supposed to be under this person's mentorship, run. Because something about this person fell off. Later on, because he did make the mistake of telling me his name, I looked him up. He's registered offender, register ex-offender. I don't want to say the real word because I want to be able to have this video put out, but you know what I mean, right? So he was an actual registered offender. So again, just like in any other religion, there are wolves in sheep's clothing pretending to be priests and priestesses. As women, as young men, as non-binary individuals, we have to stop being so impressionable. We can't just be like, hey, I want you to be my godparent, da 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 da. We don't know you, right? You don't know me. So I have clients I've been working and I know them. But I'm saying, like, if you just see me on a video, even with me, use your discernment. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I'll have somebody say, my intuition told me to come to you, or someone gave me a referral to you, right? And that's because they are using their discernment. Something in them is like, this is safe. If ever in your spiritual path something feels unsafe or a person feels unsafe, it's okay to walk away, because priestesses and priests or whatever titles they want to give themselves are not gods. They're not all knowing, they're not all pure and things of that nature. Just like predators hide in many different types of religion, that can happen with us as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about when I'm talking about discernment is, spiritual discernment is knowing when to perform something or when something's out of your scope of knowledge. So many times we want to run before we learn to walk, before we learn to crawl. And, there's so much accessibility. You have people, doing spells on social media, books, all the things. So people start doing left-handed things and then wonder why their life is chaotic, right? That was outside of your scope of practice. These practices, these closed traditions are meant to be taught. Because you have to understand that everything that's in a book is not always accurate. This is why I do book reviews, and I'll tell you, like, this is accurate, this is not. So you can get further knowledge, further things, right? Because there's nothing wrong with researching or reading books. We just want to make sure the books that you're reading and things like that are valid source and that it's actually accurate, right? Because anybody could just Google search and write a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper. But even outside of that, like, a lot of people are performing works and things before they're ready, and it's bringing negativity. It's not the religion or the path that's negative, is that you weren't ready to do that type of ritual, right? You have to start off small. You have to get your mentor. You have to do your research, right? You have to know what it is that you are doing, okay? You have to know what it is that you are doing so that you can practice in a safe way. Because not only are you putting yourself in danger, you're putting, if you're doing it for somebody else, the person that you're doing it for, and you're also putting your own family members, right? Because what doesn't hit us could hit them. Practice discernment when it comes to herbalism, okay? Don't just learn the magical properties of herbs, but learn the spiritual. Learn the spiritual, right? That's important. But also learn the medicinal, right? Because there are so many herbs that people will be like, hey, take that. And I'll be like, hey, that's poisonous. Or if somebody's pregnant or nursing, and even I've made mistakes and have to, hey, no. Because it's like any type of thing, like a doctor, like they have to study, right? This is the same thing. You have to actually have some type of background. So when I say I spiritually counsel, I have a degree in therapy, like, you know what I'm saying, in sociology. So I am technically qualified to do spiritual counseling. But a lot of people use that term and they don't even have any type of knowledge, and they're giving bad advice. and things of that nature. Same thing with any tools of divination. Nobody's trying to learn stuff. People are just doing things, and you don't know that that reading you're giving could ruin somebody's life, especially if it's inaccurate and they're going based on that, you know. So we have to practice discernment, right? We have to know when things are right and when things are wrong, even with our own selves. Like, am I really, or do I really have the capacity to be taking on these things? One of the first things like most people do, and I say everybody, is when they find out they have a calling, the first thing they do is like, oh, I want to open up a business. It took me years and years and years before I did that, because just because you have a calling doesn't correlate with you selling your services. You should have, if you're selling herbs, if you're selling readings, some years of experience, because you are messing with people's spiritual energy and people's lives. This is not to be taken lightly, okay? Also, if you're hiring somebody, same thing goes for that too. Make sure that you're hiring the appropriate person. Also, practice discernment when we're trying to get into mediumship, right? Make sure that you're actually talking to the specific spirit and not a trickster spirit who's trying to fool you into making you believe you're talking to a loved one, okay? Or you're talking to someone on behalf of someone that comes to you for help, okay? You want to make sure you're actually talking to the correct and right spirit. All these things may seem very simple, but they matter. I've had, and this is, I could take an example of church, like my pastor one time, because I was very, I had like this thing since I was little, and now I'm on this path where I would preach and people would, dance with the Holy Spirit. And, and I get told that when I get passionate, I sound kind of like a preacher. I am an ordained minister, so it makes sense. I'm very passionate about things, but even I was told, stop laying hands on just anybody. That's discernment, because there's certain people when you're in church or even on this path that you can't just go around touching people, because then that energy attaches to you. What if you don't know how to get rid of that energy? What if you take on a possession and then you have no way of getting it out? I have seen people get possessed to the point where they go into a mental hospital because the spirit will want to leave them and is ruining their life, or some kind of medical issue happens, okay, or they hurt someone involuntarily, and now there's legal action and repercussions. And there was that story about that girl who tried to conjure up a law and she ended up being expired. So discernment, make sure that you're practicing good judgment, and make sure that you have the knowledge, right, that we're studying, that we're doing our due diligence, so that when you get in this path, you could have a smooth transition, you could have a smooth ride, and it could be beneficial to you. Because again, it's not the spirits, it's that sometimes we are not discerning correctly. We are not using good judgment. We are so excited that we throw caution to the wind, and that's how it leads you to a dark pitfall. So hopefully this video makes sense to you. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this video, and if you finish watching this video all the way through, I want you to give me a grinning emoji. All right, much love and light. Bye guys.